Hello and welcome to A Celtic World, the YouTube channel and podcast connecting Celtic fans all over the planet. From Elgin to LA, Peebles to Papua New Guinea. You can be part of A Celtic World at the times that I'm just about to bring up on the screen. That won't mean much to people who are tuning in as an audio-only podcast, but, well, the critical thing is we currently go out at 9:30 Scotland time, Scotland and Ireland time, and we need to talk about times, don't we, gentlemen? Because, as you know, spring forward, fall back, times are about to change in the UK, which means we will automatically go from 9:30 to 10:30 for people in that time zone. But we can't go out and we can't do this an hour earlier than we currently do. No one's back from working time and things like that. So the times will definitely change. Now, I don't know about you, but 10:30, to me, maybe the people in the comments can help with this. They'll know what's a good slot. Because 10:30 is like halfway through the Celtic way, isn't it? I think that ends at 11. And I think Axom often goes out at 12. So is 11 to 12 maybe a better time for us? Let us know in the comments what you think. Considering we must move from 9:30 in the morning, what is the most convenient time for you? So that shout goes out to the likes of Plunge McNugget, John Clements, who's not available to watch today. Plunge McNugget's in there. Christophe, don't know if he's in France. Who's the snitch? Let us know what you think about that time issue. So, I better say hello to who we've got with us. Look who it is. It's the three originals, really. We are the three sort of embryos that gave birth to a Celtic World, if you like. We were all got to know each other on another podcast, and here we all are, and it's very nearly a momentous moment, a momentous occasion for us in terms of subscriber numbers, but we'll get to that in a second. Stephen in Australia, hello.
Hello, Gav. Delighted to be here. It's great to witness the rise to prominence of such a magnificent show as this, and I'm happy to be a part of it. So thank you very much for involving me.
Oh, involving you, being a part of it, not just a part of it, Stephen, a crucial pillar, as is Paul in Western Australia.
Yep, other side of the country to Steve. Yeah, delighted to be here. Had a couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks off, both this and the day job, and just come back. This will be a much more relaxing than my first day back at work, which was extremely hectic. I had to scoot out of the office to make it here in time because it's only 5:30 here in WA. So yeah, delighted to be back.
And it's the day after St Paddy's Day, so Stephen, did you do anything exciting in Sydney?
No, I didn't have a quiet one this year. It was just quite annoying because it's, for the first time in every few years it falls on a Sunday, which is perfect. But I've got a lot of things going on just now. I'm actually moving house in a few weeks, so and all the associated fun that goes with that. So I've got a lot of things on at the moment. So I wasn't able to get out. But I did spark open a can of Guinness last night just in to commemorate the occasion.
A token gesture.
It was a bit tokenistic, but there you go.
And Paul, you were doing plenty of boozing on your holiday in Margaret River area, so were you drunk out by the time Paddy's Day came around?
Well, I did say to my wife, "Oh, will we just swing past the local pub on the dog walk and have just one?" And she declined that. So I was already cooking a Guinness and mushroom stew / pie because she's vegetarian, and every so often I do a nice thing for her and have that. But as luck would have it, one of my mates who's not been very well of late he's recently been in recovery, and he sent me a little message and gave me a call and said, "Oh, just one? Do you fancy just one?" It's like, "Oh yeah, I can do my dog walk plan with you." So yeah, he came round and we walked the dogs down to my local and we had a pint of Guinness each, which was very pleasant, and then we strolled back. And that was that, yeah. So pretty tame. Just the one. but always nice to have a Guinness on Paddy's Day.
That is pretty tame. Well, I had a few, enough to remind me that my drinking abilities have gone through the floor. The older I get, it's just ridiculous. I woke up at around 3 a.m., sitting on the edge of the bed, wondering if, vomitus was about to occur. And I only had like 5 pints or something, but that's a lot for me these days, gotta tell you. Anyway, so you see, that's the thing. When we were young and, vibrant, we'd be out tearing it up, painting the town red.
Craig.
Here's what we're going to talk about today. First of all, a quick nod to the competition. This is day 3 of a 4-day competition. How exciting. Secondly, of course, we're going to do the game review for St Johnstone. Third, we're going to talk a little bit about Europe and internationals. And fourth, we're going to do our Celtic socials. Now, this note is not quite right. I thought that all 3 of our Celtic socials were all about the postponement of the Rangers game. But it seems only 2 out of those 3 are about that. So we won't go into that in any great depth until we get there. So, first things first, competition time. Okay, that's the short version of the video. I thought I was playing the one that actually I went on to give instructions to Dano. There'll be a mention of the sound paddy. When you hear paddy later on in the show, take note of the word that follows it immediately afterwards. And there's a series of 4 of those in the last few shows. The first one, to give you a clue, the first mention of paddy was followed by a surname, and he's often in the comments. The second one was about David riding his motorbike past Asian
Landscape
scenery, yes. And there's going to be another one at some stage today, so that's all very exciting. Right, that's the competition out of the way. Number 2 is the game review. So let's get on to talking about the game. Where shall we start with that? Well, there's loads of incidents, Stephen, and I've made a whole load of stills here to help talk us through it. And, well, I think that the best place to start with that is this incident. Celtic penalty shot against St Johnstone, Stephen.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything more I need to say other than it's a penalty. I mean, I don't know what planet that's not a penalty. And whatever definition or whatever latest convoluted definition of the handball laws has been wheeled out to justify not giving penalties for Celtic, none of them apply to this. The guy's on the line. He's made a movement, however subtle, towards the ball with his arm, and it's come off his arm and prevented a goal. So I'm really not sure what else can be said about that other than, the ref and the VAR between them have cooked up some sort of excuse for not awarding it, but it's a penalty every day of the week.
Is it a penalty every day of the week, Paul?
It should be. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to disagree with Steve based on the letter of the laws that currently stand. It isn't a penalty. He's less than 2 yards away. His arm's basically by his side, and it hits him out above the shirt line, which is part of the defining rules as they currently stand. So in any way, shape or form, it should be a penalty. It's hit his arm and it stops a certain goal. But weirdly, as the rules are currently laid out, and there's a much bigger discussion which we've been dipped in and out of for a long time. The handball rules as they currently stand are an absolute shambles. I think the comments starting to come in. Look, if the way the rules are laid out, you can make a case for a being a penalty, which it shouldn't have been even by the rules. That's never a penalty, but they found a way to get that to be a penalty, and then this isn't. To me, there's so much convolution in the penalty rules, the handball penalty rules, that they can interpret any way they want as it suits. But the letter of the law, currently as it stands, is the law's an ass, but it's not a penalty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it does hit him above the shirt line. I think it hits him just sort of
maybe
on
on the
it.
line, but that's the case being made, right? On or around the line.
I know it's the
in
case
the
being
aftermath,
made,
he's pulling at his shirt and showing that.
I agree with Stephen though. I mean, if this was any other teams playing, if the guy in the defender, if the defender was wearing a Celtic top, that's a penalty against us, and we would have to suck it up. And if Rangers were involved, it would go to them in favour of them in any which way. It's just
I think
unbelievable, isn't it, that we had such bad decisions against us recently, and then immediately the next couple of games, we've seen very similar incidents, and that suddenly they're being explained away, left, right, and centre.
I don't disagree with the broader discussion, but I think, look how close he is when he hits it.
I think the key thing here is, though, he moves his arm towards the ball, albeit not much. He's not made any, all this talk about silhouettes and all that, but his arms, you can see clearly in that picture there, his arms outside the silhouette of his body. He's made a movement towards, and I agree with Gav, I don't think it's clear from the TV coverage that it hits him above the shirt line. I think it more likely hits him round about the elbow, the inside of his elbow. And I think, if the referee had gave a penalty for that, and let's be clear, Rangers get a penalty for that every day of the week and twice on a Sunday, and probably a red card for the guy in the line. But if the ref had gave a penalty for that, I don't think anybody would really complain about it. I don't think there would be any pushback against the decision, and I think it's just a farcical decision. As you say, Paul, they can interpret the rules any way they want, and do often enough in our games, and they could have easily interpreted that as a penalty kick, the way myself and Gav have both described it there. So farcical decision for me, but we should be used to it by now.
Well, we are. That's a problem. But I think the bigger picture, and that's a good point as well. Unavoidable, possibly not. But the bigger picture is the handball rule is an absolute joke. Let's be as simple as possible. Whether it's this whole accidental, not accidental, avoidable, not avoidable, if it hits your arm and it stops a goal, it's maybe not a yellow, it's maybe not a red, but you stopped a goal. If that arm's not there, it's gone in the net. So I'm old school. It's about as basic as it can get when it comes to being a penalty. I don't give a shit if it's an accident or not. It stopped a certain goal. So the rules should be changed. And it's just another
there's just because we went on to win and play well and all doesn't mean we shouldn't.
I don't disagree.
We shouldn't highlight it. There's a point by Frank Brennan which might be worth making. You scream for these penalties when they're not given, and similarly scream when they're given against you. I mean, I could live if that was given against us in a way that I can't live with some of the ones that have, right on the line like that. Anyway, there's plenty of other things to discuss, but the judge's decision here is 2-1. That was a penalty. You're right, voted.
Penalty.
Now, this is one of the first incidents. I'm not sure if these are all in exactly the right order, but this is Iwata's shot cleared off the line. There was tons of events like this that we could look back on. Bernardo crossing into Kyogo. Kyogo, this is an effort that he chested in, remember? It was offside. We'll keep going until we get to the goal. Iwata forces spectacular save. Was it a spectacular save? The keeper kind of looked like he thought the cameras were on him, don't you think?
That was a good save, that one.
It's a decent save, but it's one he should be making.
He's caught hold of that, though, for me. He's absolutely blasted that. He's caught it right in the middle of the ball. and it's missiling towards the far corner. I think it's a good save, but
yeah. And then this is the first goal. So, Steve, why don't you talk us through this?
yeah, it's just a great goal, great assist from Kuhn, who's come off the right onto his left foot and dinked a lovely ball into a really dangerous area where Kyogo split the defenders. He actually starts off in front of the defender and then wheels round behind him, and is in a great position for a header. It's also really brave because the keeper's flying out. And he doesn't flinch, he doesn't shirk, he just gets a head on it and steers it into the net. So great assist from Kuhn. Brilliant to see him playing much better and showing that most of us were wrong, and there is a player in there, and he just hasn't been able to show it due to a combination of fitness and I don't know, weight loss, if you believe what Brendan was saying the other day there. But a great goal and a great assist.
Paul, having heard what Brendan said about weight loss, have you made an appointment to have your wisdom teeth extracted? I think we should all do that.
Jakey,
we could all benefit.
I am carrying some holiday weight, admittedly. But I have some plans to get that removed in the coming weeks and months.
And do you remember 2 games ago I said this will be the game where the narrative on Kuhn starts to shift? I'd like to take full credit for that.
You've enjoyed reminding us and others of that as we've moved through the last 2-3 shows.
You're not wrong. Okay, then we're into the second half here. How pleasing was this goal, Paul?
Yeah, it's a cracking goal. Not clear from the still, but really Kyogo's run is what makes it, but Greg Taylor's ball is brilliant as well. He spots the run and he plays it. How often have we talked about the Kyogo making great runs and our players not seeing it and not finding him and they then being wasted? Taylor's ball's perfect, doesn't have to break stride, and Kuhn's doing what he should be doing, coming in from the other wing, reminiscent of a young Israeli winger striker we've recently said goodbye to, in just sort of drifting into that empty space. I don't know what the St Johnstone defence are doing, but yeah, Kyogo plays a great ball in and Kuhn tucks it away perfectly. Really good goal.
Played the cross in blind, and there he was arriving, sort of Abada-esque, wouldn't you say, to knock it in.
That's exactly what I said.
Did you say that just now?
I said reminiscent of an Israeli winger striker that's recently left the club. Glad you're listening. Well, I'll just talk to myself, or at least Steve's listening, maybe. Jesus.
I've got a lot of things to do simultaneously here.
I'll just chat to you, Steve.
Yeah.
I have to say, sometimes on the following day when I'm snipping up the show, for social media, I hear things for the first time and I'm like, oh, that's a brilliant point that guy made. So I'm sorry about that. Okay, and then Matt O'Reilly's, was this a free kick? Yeah, it was a direct free kick. Do you remember this, Stephen? This is another one of these incidents that could easily have been another goal.
Yeah, he's trying to sell the keeper a little bit into thinking he's going to cross it, and he's trying to find the far corner. He's caught it well, and it was, I think, it's hard to tell from that angle, but I thought it was going in. But the keeper's made a good save. And I think Mahesh made the point in the comments here that Mitrov, the St Johnstone keeper, has got the highest save percentage outside of Jack Butland, the Rangers goalkeeper. So he's a good keeper, him, and he makes these saves quite often. And that was a good save for me. And I think it was definitely, well, from what I could tell, it was going in.
Well, it's very close to going in, even after he got the touch. See where the ball is there? It looks like it's going in. Yeah, that was good. We'll talk about O'Reilly later, I'm sure, when we get down to like individual performances. Next incident. What's happening there, Paul?
This is good old Jimmy Forrest sticking away his third or fourth goal of the season, I think. Yeah, really good finish on his supposed weakest side. O'Reilly slips him in. I think there's a bit of a sort of breakdown and play on the left wing, and it just breaks to O'Reilly, and he just plays him straight in, and then James is really composed and doesn't look to get it back on his favoured side. He just sort of takes a touch, sets himself, and smashes it into the bottom corner. Keeper's got no chance.
And did you notice how all the players, all the genuine smiles and stuff when they're congratulating him? It's like he's a really popular dude around the training ground and stuff. He appears to be, doesn't he, among the young players and the more established ones.
Well, he's seen it and done it all, right? He's got, if in the old-fashioned show us your medals, he's got plenty to show. So, I think he probably doesn't get the respect from a lot of Celtic fans for what he's achieved, because he's been up and down and inconsistent, and now he is coming to the end of his career. But in a time when we've had various issues on the wing, he's looked decent in the last couple of games. I think there's a role for him in the running in this kind of off the bench way, I would suggest, and great to see him get another goal sort of in the twilight of his career.
Looks in great physical condition as well, Forrest. He really does look as if he's looked after himself this year, and he's obviously putting hard yards in on the training ground. So I think there's definitely, I agree with Paul, there's definitely, apart from it playing the running, particularly in games like this where you're maybe a goal or two ahead and you're just looking to sort of see the game out and give some players a rest. He's certainly a guy that will come in and he'll never let you down.
He's still quite full of bottom, isn't he, though? When you talk about him physically.
Great players. Great players got a big bottom. John McGinn in the current climate. Kenny Dalglish, he had a big arse. They were using it to good effect way back then. There's a place for it.
Oh, there's hope for us yet. Okay, so what about this incident? This is just after Hart has palmed away that shot. This is their goal. Stephen?
Yeah, well, this is just not long after Cameron Carter-Vickers has left the field, and with him leaves Celtic's defensive composure. They just seem to be all over the place, and I think the key thing, there are two things here. One, Greg Taylor gets under the ball at a cross. The guy's peeled in behind him and he doesn't know he's there. Realises too late. Very similar of what happened with Bernardo a few weeks ago. It's not Bernardo, Bernabé. A few weeks ago, a goal we lost, I think it was against Motherwell at home when we lost a late equaliser. He's been caught with a guy coming in behind him. But Joe Hart produces a really good save, but nobody reacts. We've got a number of players all standing round the 6-yard box here. I think Welsh is there. I think Watt is there as well. Nobody reacts, but the St Johnstone player's first to get a touch on it and puts it in the net. So you could see when that goal went in how annoyed Joe Hart was, because I think that was probably St Johnstone's only attack of note of the second half and perhaps of the whole game. They offered almost nothing in attack, and to come away, losing his clean sheet like that, you can see why Hart was annoyed. So not great, but that's what happens when you take Cameron Carter-Vickers out of the team, and that's why it's so important for us to keep him fit for the running.
You're on mute.
You're on mute, Gav. The dog was barking.
Dogs
How
are
about
barking.
Lackwinder's point? Hart saved well, but put it back in a danger area. Paul, is that harsh, or do you think he could have done better?
He's done well to stop it in the first place. He's sort of kind of having to change direction on it. I could understand why he was human. Steve's right with the points he's made as well, but we were too passive in the build-up as well. The ball moves from right to left. There's no pressure on the guy in the middle, and then he flicks it out to the left wing, our right back area, and there's no one to be seen. I don't know where the cover is at that point, but the winger's got time to pick his spot, and the cross comes in. So I don't know where. I think Ali Johnson was posted missing. I don't know where. He probably upfield or whatever, but they had so much space on that left wing, and he picks his cross, and Taylor does get caught, and we know he's targeted. But generally we're statuesque in the middle. Tomoki, who's filling in at centre back for that weird period until he brought on Lagabielka and sort of put a proper centre back on again. Is out-muscled, and he's a big unit, and he's out-muscled inside the box, and the guy obviously tucks it away. It's unfortunately reminiscent of a lot of goals we've lost this season. Just poor defending, poor defending as a unit, you can point your finger at quite a few people there. There's nobody that takes overall or singular blame. It's just bad defending by multiple people. You're on mute again.
Okay, you're going to hear the dog. I'm going to take a moment's pause to highlight a comment by Christophe. 2 more subscribers to reach the 1,000 mark. No, this morning, David and I were sending each other messages. He was sending me a screenshot where it said 1K. And I was like, yay, 1K, we did. We've got a celebratory video to play. And then it went back to 999. And then at one stage it said 999 on my phone and 1K on my computer. And the last I checked, it went down to 998. So Christoph is absolutely right. So imagine you're watching this and you quite like the look of it. Maybe you've seen us previously and you haven't yet subscribed. All you have to do with one click, you could be the 1,000th subscriber. That'd be pretty exciting. Imagine clicking it at 999 and seeing it turn to 1K. That's the gift we give you today, right now. So yes, indeed.
More importantly, who's been unsubscribing?
Yeah, a couple of people have unsubscribed.
Why have they unsubscribed?
Well, there could be any number of reasons. Maybe they thought Paul had gone forever. There was a comment there the other day. Oh, I only tuned in to see Paul, and he's away on holiday.
Didn't realize I had individual fans. Maybe one at least. Maybe it's my mum. I don't know. Probably.
Okay, well, let's move it on to... Well, the next still I have is this one. This was yet another one that was could easily have been the best chance in a game, Stephen. But yet in this game, it's barely makes the highlight reels.
Is that the one that Iwata's put over the bar?
It's Iwata's header from a couple of yards out.
Yeah, I don't know how he's missed that. It was in the very last couple of minutes of injury time in the game, so it was really pretty inconsequential. But I just don't know. I can't offer any explanation as to how he's missed that. He's 3 yards out from goal. It's one of those ones that's quite literally more difficult to get it over the bar from that point is to put it on target. So I can't offer any explanation, but a really, really bad miss. And I thought Iwata did okay, to be honest. I thought he had a reasonably good game. I've heard a lot of people today on social media saying he was pretty poor, but I think he was okay. I think he was fine. I don't think he was brilliant, but I think he was fine. And I think he could have quite easily. We've seen a couple in the first half there you showed where he had one off the line and then a good save from the keeper. He could easily have had a hat trick. Him and Kyogo both could have easily had hat tricks. And we could be looking at a 6-1 one and not a 3-1, but yeah, poor miss.
Also, the next still I'm about to show you, Paul. To me, it would be infuriating if you were the striker and you didn't get the service you needed. But it's also maybe the still doesn't tell the full story. You want to talk to us about this? This is Matt O'Reilly and Maeda in the middle. And from that still, it's just, come on, just knock it across, let him finish it.
And he shoots. This is quite late in the game, isn't it? Does Matt O'Reilly shoot here and it's saved?
He doesn't shoot. He just sort of skies the cross and it goes floats away over.
That's right. Look, the pitch has been in pretty bad shape, hasn't it? So you give him a benefit of doubt and say he maybe got a bobble. But yeah, on the still, it looks like he should just do what Kyogo did and roll him in. There's no guarantee, of course, that once it comes to Maeda, it's going to end up in the nets. But yeah, he should be making that cross.
Well, the way Maeda was hopping mad, literally on the goal line after not getting that touch, he would have backed himself. And then there was also a shot from Taylor that the keeper sort of spilled and almost fell to Adam Ida. I'm just including these because, that's a very true point, what you said. We scored a few goals, but we could have had an absolute hatful.
This is the one he tries the Rabona and the angle's closed and the keeper saves it. That's right, isn't it?
Rabona was mentioned in the commentary at some stage, and I wasn't Wasn't quite sure why, but was that why?
Yeah, he tries it. He comes round it, and obviously his favourite foot is not in the right place, so he tries the old Rabona around the back of the other leg, and it gets saved.
Right. So before we moved on, then let's have a little talk about individual players and what we learned from that game. Before we do substitutions, as somebody mentioned already in the comments, what about that carry on with the delay in putting Lager-Bielka into central defence when CCV came off? You know, why did we go with the dream pairing of Iwata and Welsh for a period, Stephen?
Well, I'm not going to claim credit for this, but I was listening to another podcast today who offered the explanation that he might have been trying to get some minutes into the legs of Odin Thiago Holm, who hasn't really played much, and he may have took that opportunity. Iwata has played at centre half quite a bit for Celtic, so he was probably a reasonably safe option at 3-0 up, and he just wanted to give Holm a bit of a run. Weird one for me, though. I don't really see, that was a legitimate reason for doing that. I think at that point in the game, because at some point over the next few weeks, we may have to play Lager-Bielka, with the fact that Nawrocki's injured, Scales is injured as well now. We're down to the bones again, and Cameron Carter-Vickers has not exactly been robust this year in terms of injuries. So if he picks a niggle up, or if he can't finish a game, then we're going to have to play Lager-Bielka. And I would have thought, I think James Forrest scored something at the 67th minute to make it 3-0, and that would have been the ideal opportunity to give him a good 20 odd minutes. But I don't know. It's a weird one. The whole Lager-Bielka situation is just a bit of a head scratcher. Why he was signed and why he wasn't sold in the transfer window, and why he's been almost completely bombed out now. Just a weird one. So I'm not really buying that explanation, but that could have been what he was thinking.
Gustav Lager-Bielka. It's hard for me to say that without singing it, and also because of the tune. But also, there's a little musical mention here. I see Who's the Snitch is having a conversation with 420 somewhere, mentioning Rod Stewart. Why is that quite appropriate to us, Paul, this weekend?
Because our learned colleague Jerry in Singapore, basically ended up hosting Mr. Stewart in the Muddy Murphy's pub in Singapore after his gig, which apparently he invited about 8,000 Rod Stewart fans to come to the pub that the Celtic Sing Tim's Celtic Supporters Club hang out in. So yeah, Jerry was drinking with Mr. Rod Stewart the other night. I think he got an invite to the concert the next night as well, did he not?
Apparently he did, yeah. So does that mean we have to exile Jerry for associating with Tory royalists, Stephen?
Tory royalist bastards.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, I think he should be exiled. I think Rod Stewart is, I don't know how I could put this subtly. He's a complete wank. And I don't know why he's still got. I agree with the guy in the comments there. He should be unceremoniously hoofed out his seat at Celtic Park. We should do it in a sort of ceremonial way. And yeah, not my favourite person. I mean, I went to see Rod Stewart a few years back at Hampden, and it was all right. It was a good show. I'm not a huge fan of his music, but I can't be asked with all that. I can't be asked with the. We love a celebrity, don't we, as Celtic supporters? We love a celebrity Celtic fan, but all this crap about, loving Boris Johnson and being a royalist and all that, not for me.
Not for
each
you.
their own, though. Each their own. If Jerry wants to hang about with Tories and royalists, then that's up to him. I would never criticise anyone for doing that.
Sounds like you did.
Never, he says with a wee sly lean into the camera. All right, let's talk about Matt O'Reilly. Paul, he might not be the first name to jump out at you from that performance. You're going to tell me who were, but in a second. But let's talk about O'Reilly, because he nearly had a brilliant game, but things just aren't still quite clicking for him, But he's there, he's trying. He did do some good things, and he did some bad things. But do you get the feeling he's playing his way back into form? Because I do.
Yeah, I think so. Yes, he hasn't lit up the place like he did in the first half of the season. And obviously there's an easy sort of narrative that he's miles off form. His head's been turned by the Atletico Madrid chat, and his heart's not in it, etc. Blah blah blah. I think for me, I think a more fair assessment of it is that he's been asked to play nearly every minute of every game because of how thin the squad is, and it's impossible to keep that level up all season. Even in the last few weeks where he hasn't played great, he's been playing higher up the pitch. He's been getting into dangerous areas. He's been linking up nicely. When Yang was in for those 2 or 3 games, there was some nice triangles down that side with St Johnstone. So I do think he's coming back onto a game. It might almost be sort of trying too hard. Like, he's had quite a few shots blocked. He obviously, the cross that you mentioned was sort of fluffed. It's I think one of those, it's sort of when you put yourself under that pressure, then you sort of snatch at stuff and rush things a little bit. But I don't think he's been as bad as some of the narrative out there suggests he has. And I think you're right. Once, hopefully over the next game or two, it'll click and hopefully he'll be on to another nice little run of form as we come into the crunch point of the season.
And who from that game do you think really is, sort of giving you cause for hope in the run-in?
Quite a few, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'll let Steve have a crack and then I'll follow in with whatever's not been touched on.
Well, I think the main one is Nicholas Kuhn, isn't it? A guy who we'd all pretty much all written off. It's just been a bad signing a few weeks ago, apart from Gav. I need to go back and listen to that again because I'm not sure I'm buying that. But he certainly, he looked, his first couple of games, he looked dreadful. He genuinely looked like a guy who'd never seen a ball before. And I'm still wondering, given Brendan's explanation about the wisdom teeth and the weight loss and all that, my question is, why were you playing him under those circumstances? You're not fit to play, and you're not fit to play, and it's not fair on the player himself to put him in the team under those circumstances. So it's all right, Brendan saying, he's had these issues, but he shouldn't have been on the pitch if that was the case. He should have been, at the very most on the bench, and probably should have been in the stand until he put all these issues behind him and he can give it a red hot crack at the first team. So another bemusing recruitment decision from Celtic by signing this guy and sticking him straight in the team. But he certainly showed enough the last 2 games to suggest there is definitely a player there. He was going inside and going outside the fullback yesterday, and he gave the St Johnstone left back a torrid time, and it looked really good. Got an assist and got a goal, so he can be very proud of his performance. And that if you add that to the fact that Cameron Carter-Vickers really does make our defence look like a completely different unit, regardless of who his partner is, whether it's Welsh or Scales, I don't think it really matters. He just makes either of them look so much better. And if you put those things together, and the fact that Hatate's coming back into the team, so Matt O'Reilly, and I 100% agree with what Paul said there, he's obviously just fatigued. He's probably played, I haven't got the stats in front of me, but I'm pretty sure he's played more minutes already this year than he did in the whole of last season. So he's probably getting a bit leggy, and probably needs a break out, maybe not out the starting team, but he needs to get an opportunity to get substituted. And if Hatate's there, or if Hatate starts and Bernardo's in the bench, then that can maybe happen. So I think that's the main reasons for positivity for me.
Paul, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I've obviously brought out the German shirt for the Nicholas Kuhn Appreciation Society. Also, I'm the same as you, Gav. I hadn't quite written them off. I think I said nowhere near enough games to write him off, but he didn't. It's
one of the most annoying things for me, the way fans write people off after 2 minutes. and say,
Steve loved
forget it. He's
Rubbish.
not, can't wear the shirt.
No, he had a good game. I do think his performance has sort of been almost talked up the other way, which we've got a tendency to do as well. Steve's right; he was going inside and outside, but I think he looked way more dangerous when he came inside. I wish he'd pulled the trigger occasionally. There was a couple of times when he cut inside early on, and we haven't really touched on this because everything you rolled, Gav, was probably from 20, 25 minutes onwards on those snip. But we were pretty poor for the first 15, 20 minutes. We didn't look like we were going to do much. And a couple of times in that early period, he cut inside and he had the chance to pull the trigger. And I've loved him to have had a ping, and he didn't. When he went outside, I thought he was running almost up blind alleys to some degree. Like he didn't really know what he was going to do when he went round the outside. So I'd like him to have a sort of bit more, quality on his decision making when he goes outside. Like, is he going to pull it back, or is he going to look and drive it at the goal? But yeah, last couple of games much more improved. I can't believe Steve didn't take the opportunity to speak about Kyogo.
Yeah, that's the other main one.
Brilliant performance for me. And I know Kuhn got all the headlines and all the talk, and got the man of the match, I think, in the ground and elsewhere. But for me, Kyogo was my man of the match. He, Kuhn should have had a hat trick. Everybody's talking about Kuhn, a goal and an assist. Well, that's exactly what Kyogo's got. He's got a goal and assist as well, and he's putting himself into those positions where we want him. He's sort of on the shoulder. He's playing offside, and then getting himself back on side. It's frustrating, but that first one where his starting position's about 5 or 6 yards offside. And I love it when he does that, because defenders don't know what to do. And as long as he's not the first receiver, he's absolutely fine to stand in that position. And then obviously he's sliding around and sort of trying to get just on the shoulder of the last man. And he's, I've got no issues with him being a little bit, he's offside a couple of times. Well, he isn't actually offside on the second one that he scores. It's Maeda that's offside, and he finishes it again, a simple finish. But he would have been offside if Maeda had managed to just keep himself on the line. But yeah, cracking performance, and hopefully it's a state of things to come in terms of us getting back to playing to his strengths and him having the confidence to. Yeah. He could have had 4. He could have had 4. Obviously, he had the 2 that he scored and got chopped off. He had his own goal, plus he had that cracking shot off the bar as well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, he had a great game, back to his best, and I hope we continue to play to the strengths. Adamida stepped up.
That's the point. This is the point that John Clements makes here. He says, "Can't watch live today. We'll catch up later." So if you're watching live, or indeed later, you can subscribe in either scenario. So no problem there. But maybe be our 1,000th subscriber. Wouldn't that be exciting? He goes on to say, we have some exceptional players, I think, and Kyogo is one of the few. It has been criminal that we haven't played to his strengths for most of the season, and it's a must. And Plunge McNugget agrees and says, it's crucial we play to his strengths. He can win us the league. Is Kyogo very much back in the driving seat now? Anita on the bench, really, for the next few games?
I would say so, and I think talking about Kyogo and getting him the proper service, I think an honourable mention needs to go to Greg Taylor for his performance yesterday. I thought he was excellent out with his sort of contribution for their goal, but his general play, I noticed he was inverting quite a lot into midfield and playing. Playing quite a number of the balls down the channels, and the one he played for Kuhn's goal from Kyogo's cross was just an absolute peach. And I thought he had a great game, and I think he has been pretty good for the last few games. So I think Taylor's back in form again, and that's something that we really needed. And I think we're starting to see the benefits, and Kyogo especially start to see the benefits of consistency of selection in the wide areas as well, because that's the first time for a while we've been able to sort of name the same wing pairings for 2 games in a row. I'm talking about with Johnson and Kuhn on the right, and then Maeda and Taylor on the left. And I think that makes a big difference, and they start to work off each other a lot better. And Kyogo's the main one that benefits from that. But yeah, Kyogo had a great game yesterday. I can't take anything away from him.
What about this point, Paul? Brendan Rodgers said Ida has sparked everyone. It's quite ironic that we started playing to Kyogo's strengths when he wasn't on the team sheet. I've heard people saying that, but it's kind of the Ida signing has worked in some ways, hasn't it?
Well, he's closer to put, like, he's clearly putting more pressure on Kyogo for a jersey than O was. So in any situation, if you're guaranteed a pick, then you've got a danger of your performance levels dropping off. And that, coupled with not really playing to his strengths, sort of Kyogo off the boil. But you know, he was mocked by a lot, and sort of written off by some. But Ida's been a good addition. You know, he's he wasn't what we wanted out of the window. He wasn't what we thought we deserved out of the window, or that we would be looking for through the window. But just in isolation, he's been a good addition to the squad. I don't think there's any complaint about that.
Okay, let's keep it moving now. The next point I had was that Dalen Doherty was debuting on game commentary with Simon Donnelly on Celtic TV. Let us know in the comments what you thought about the job that he did. I thought he was good, and I haven't seen him do anything else. It was a totally new voice to me, a totally new name, and so my opinion's only based on the commentary from this game. But what I liked about it was he avoided allowing the cheesiness to permeate that is present often on Celtic TV. And he didn't rush to make calls of events in the game without, gathering all the requisite information. I thought him and Simon Donnelly had a good little rapport going, worked well together. And Jerry McCullough and Peter Grant were in the studio doing the bits that I don't watch. So it would have been much worse if those roles were reversed. Because those two together on commentary drive me up the wall. But it seems that my view is not shared by all. We've had sort of preliminary exchanges about this. So before we go to Paul, let's hear what Stephen had to say.
Well, I don't think he was that bad. I don't have any great expectations when it comes to Celtic TV. We're not going to hire the best commentators in the land, and I didn't really notice. I don't pay too much attention to what's being said. I take your point about Jerry McCullough and Peter Grant, who are both pretty terrible in airing commentary. But I think Paul Curry, he's all right, and I think this guy was okay yesterday as well. You're not going to get the best in the business. It's better than having Tom Boyd there as well. Claiming every referee's corrupt. So.
Paul?
Well, I'm not going to publicly slate a young kid making his way in his career at presumably his favourite club.
Good.
But I didn't love it. And it's his first time at Celtic Park, but he has done some of the away games and he does some of the pre-recorded interviews. He's not exactly set the header on fire for me. I think maybe Simon Donnelly is effectively that commentary team's CCV, and he's starting to make others look good because he's by far and away the best we've got in the Celtic TV team. Not for me really, but and the halftime interview, which it's a bit you said you didn't watch.
I haven't seen it.
It's just drivel. I don't know if he comes up with the questions or someone else does.
That's the thing. I'm sure there's somebody there. There's a head of
I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit.
The
producer,
do this. It'll be funny.
No, the producers need fired, and if he's got anything about him, would go, I'm not asking.
I'm not saying
ridiculous. He did an interview with Adam Ede at halftime, obviously pre-recorded, and he asked him, tea or coffee? Like, give me a break. I don't give a shit. And the worst bit of that was Adam Ede said tea, and then he moved on to the next question, and then Adam had pulled him back and went, I don't know, actually. And I used to drink a lot of tea, and now I'm maybe more of a cup. I was like, for Christ's sake, what are we putting on the... Who's sanctioned, one, the questions, and two, gone, Adam, don't answer. That is nonsense. Move on.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I think if left to his own devices, he'd be very good. And I enjoyed him on commentary. I just wanted to make that point.
I certainly root for improvement.
All right, we better move quickly. We've been blethering away here, and it's up to 50 minutes already. So, Rangers are out of Europe. Yay. But I think we all would have liked a bit more time in the legs, a couple of injuries, something like that. Fixture congestion wouldn't have been too bad. But they're out. And what about Scotland's Euro coefficient points? We're all going to be hanging on for this next game that Victoria Pilsen play, aren't we?
Absolutely. The Rangers have left us right in it as a coefficient situation.
Yeah.
Like they've really dropped the ball here, and yeah, we're on jeopardy thanks to them dropping out of the tournament early. It's hanging in the balance. I think they sneaked through versus Servette like late in the game as well. And if they'd gone out, that would have been much more of a relief. So I think any kind of draw in either of the two legs will lift them above Scotland. And then the year after, next season, that would mean the champions have to qualify again for the Champions League. So
yeah, so it's the year after next season. It's not this season.
No. So next season, the winner of this season goes into the new format Champions League direct. That's why it's such a big deal. 60 odd million, etc. is the presumed figure. And if Scotland stay in 10th place, then because it's sort of a year in arrears. So if Scotland can stay in 10th place at the end of this season, the following season they'll be directly in as well. But then the season after that, they're going to be in real trouble because I think we're sort of expecting to drop to about 15th or 16th because a big year of points, I think it's 5 years of rolling points, and a big year of points drops off. So we need a fingers crossed and hope Pleasant get beaten twice, and we probably get automatic place for the following year. And then next season, whoever's in Europe needs to contribute because the coefficient points get divided by the number of teams that are in Europe. So Scotland had 5 teams in Europe this year, so each point was divided in 5-5. The Czech Republic only had 4 teams, and their points get divided by 4. So they still had 3 teams left in the tournament, and obviously both Prague teams got pumped out of the Champions League, which is good. But Pleasant sort of came back from the dead and sneaked through. So yeah, there's a bit of jeopardy there.
Okay, well, let's move on to the international break. Are there any games we care about? Who of our players are definitely going to be playing? Matt O'Reilly, for one. Tell me some more names. Well, he's in the squad.
Taylor and Ralston not away with Scotland.
Taylor and Ralston are in the squad. You wouldn't expect them to see much game time, but they're there. Ida and Scales have been selected. I don't know if Scales is going to be fit enough to take up this position. I don't know, the Japanese lads, have they got games or not?
Yeah, I think they probably have. There's the World Cup qualifiers in the Asian conference because the Socceroos are playing home and away games against Lebanon. And I actually looked up the Socceroos squad to see if Marco Tilio had made it, only to find out that he's done his hamstring and he's going to be out for 6 weeks. So I didn't even notice that news coming through, but the hamstring curse strikes again for Celtic players, so you won't see Marco Tilio back playing now till probably towards the end of April when the A-League season starting to come to a close. So what a disaster that's been for him. But yeah, we shall be keeping an eye on the Scotland results. Big game, big friendly match against Holland on the weekend, and then a friendly the following Wednesday against the Wrong'uns from Northern Ireland. So hopefully we can give them a good spanking. But 2 important games in the run up to the Euros.
Very good. So it's a nice little break from the hurly-burly of league action. Paul's just been on a break down to Margaret River. What tell us just briefly what you got up to down there? Wine drinking? Did you go to vineyards?
I don't really drink wine. So I was in Bustleton and Dunsborough, which are about 2.5, 3 hours south of Perth, even more remote than I currently am. Beautiful beaches, great wine, you're right, but also some amazing breweries as well. So we spent some time at wineries for my good lady wife, and quite a lot of time for breweries for my good self. And there's some cracking places to eat as well. So yeah, basically it was just recharge the batteries, very relaxing. Dogs walked on the beach every day. Start the day with that, and bit of like brekkie, and then try and work out which winery or brewery or other restaurant you're going to eat lunch in, and then have a couple, and then there you go, off you go. Perfect.
Well, I haven't been on holiday for ages. I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to wangle a wee dive trip in, possibly to the Solomon Islands, which would be amazing.
Nice.
Because I've never been there, and that would have to be flying through Brisbane. Anybody else a diver here? Anyone else done their PADI open water course?
I had intended to do that quite a few years ago, but unfortunately not.
Stephen, are you a diver?
No, not at the moment. Although I did mention that in the studio before the show there that I am actually in the process of moving house up to Manly in the northern beaches of Sydney. So my new place is like 200 metres from the water. So these sort of things will be on the agenda for maybe learning to scuba dive over the next few years. I'm hoping that my whole life becomes one big holiday after that. So we live in hope.
There you go. Manly by nature, manly by location. That's
it's about to become a little bit more manly.
Steve's obviously doing very well for himself. Manly's a wonderful part of the world to be living. Congrats, mate. That's a good spot.
Hey, let's move it over to Celtic socials now. As we run down the last few minutes of the show. Do you know this chap? I'm going to ask Celtic Nation. Have you come across him on Twitter? Relentlessly positive guy. Sent me a couple of messages recently. He says, this is about the postponement of the Rangers game. It was an advantage to Sevco not having to play today, but the rage amongst their fans is almost making it worth it. The thought of staying second through the international break is tormenting them. We will head to Ibrox knowing that a win for us puts them firmly back in the quagmire. I like that. That's true, isn't it?
If we beat Livy.
Yeah.
I think there's two ways of looking at it, isn't there? I mean, I think
definitely.
You would always want to get the game played and won. But, and I think ultimately it's great. It's good for us that we're top of the league. We'll be top of the league for the next 2 weeks, and that'll play in their minds a little bit before they kick a ball again during the international break. But the other side of it is, I think the Rangers camp were all quite happy that the game was postponed, and they weren't having any of this stuff about delaying the game for a couple of hours to try and get it to go ahead. So I think they were quite happy due to the fact they've got some injuries. They've just played a really tough European match, and they'll get a bit more of a break now. But I was quite happy it was off, because we could sit on top of the table and sort of, let them worry about it. And as you say, if we do beat Livy and then get a result at Ibrox, it does become very much in our favour, the league, and puts a little bit more pressure onto them.
It's funny, Steve, because not long ago, some of the snippets that I was clipping from the show of you talking were so incredibly doom and gloom. And then, a game like that and players coming back, and suddenly, it's like the rain stops and the clouds begin to part. And so you're saying there's a chance.
Football's an emotional game, Gavin. Celtic are an emotional club, and we ride the emotions. Some of us have seen the darkest of dark times, so we know what these things look like. And I still, I'm not going to rain on the positivity that we got today, but I still think it's a long shot for us to go to Ibrox and get a result, particularly given the sort of availability issues within the squad. But I still think it's a big ask from where we are just now. But positivity is good. So let's just keep on that theme for now.
And on a similar subject, this is you, Paul. Do you want to talk us through this?
Yeah, this is a raging teddy bear. Saying, I'm completely and utterly ashamed at how angry this idiot gets me every single time. He's not even fishing. He's just genuinely thick. And the signing off with Ken on every tweet might actually send me to an early grave. And it's our friend Ken saying, never seen a Clementine so happy in my life, like he's just won a raffle, Ken. And this is obviously Baltimore shaking hands with one of his mates, probably a funny handshake. Delighted that the game's off. And yeah, I just thought the comments underneath are really funny on that one as well. If you can find that, the comments underneath, it's basically Celtic fans winding this guy up, and everybody's replying with their name at the end. Yeah, so Craig's
Craig.
It's quite good, and this guy's reacting constantly, which is always funny. Yeah, I just thought it was quite funny. They love to rage, and they're raging again.
Well, Ken and I are in constant contact and dancing around each other, trying to get him on the show. But there hasn't quite been a slot that suits yet. But hopefully, we'll see him on before too long.
You can't beat the wholesome content of a bunch of Rangers guys interacting with a referee, can you? It's just lovely. Isn't it? The smiles and the warmth, and there's just a general feeling of love radiating around the place. And Ken's absolutely spot on there. It's a lovely moment.
And you've also chosen a lovely moment for your social media choice of the week, Stephen.
Yeah, if you've been on Twitter today, you'll have seen quite a bit of this. It's the footage from after the Fenerbahce against Trabzonspor game over in Turkey, when Fenerbahce scored a late winner and then celebrated in front of the Trabzonspor fans, who then proceeded to invade the park and set about them. But I picked this one in particular because you see one of the fans there getting absolutely ironed out by a Fenerbahce player who's obviously got a career in the UFC if he doesn't make it in football. He's absolutely levelled him. And there was a couple more like it. I could have sent you through.
Momentum.
I could have sent through a few. There was one guy did a round kick on someone as well, and they were swapping blows. It was full on, and a guy appeared with a corner flag from somewhere. Just crazy. I mean, that's got to result in a stadium closure or something. It was just madness.
Very good. Fenerbahce and Galatasaray going toe-to-toe for that title. Yeah, Turkey's. It's a passionate place, isn't it, when it comes to football? That's for sure. All right, so I saw that Pam was keeping a check on the YouTube subscriber total. Pam, would you like to let us know if we've reached the magic number during the course of the show, or what is it currently set at? Or anyone indeed in the comments can let us know. Be very exciting if we lipped over the edge live on air. Still 999.
It's an emergency. It's an emergency.
Creeping over the line.
Staggering. A bit like us if we win the title this season.
Okay, well, no doubt when we reconvene for the next show on Thursday, we will have 4 digits, or a 1 digit and a letter, the letter being K. It'll say 1K. So we will celebrate it then in proper style. But I'd like to thank Stephen and Paul for all of their efforts. This is our first season. You were the first on board. And it's bloody good to be, flirting with 1K already, I would think. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Gav. It's been great to see the growth in the channel from such humble beginnings.
Humble beginnings. All right. Well, on that note, thank you everyone else in the comments as well, and we will see you on Thursday. All the best.